Kelly was coming, wasn't he?
I believe so. I did not hear otherwise.
It was 5:30, so whenever you're ready, we'll get started and he can jump in.
Okay, you're on, sir. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Before I call the meeting to order, just want to remind everybody in the audience, if you have any comments or questions, please come up to the center table so everyone can hear you. I'll call the meeting to order. Jen, will you take roll call, please?
Commissioner Corbin?
Here.
Commissioner Fell?
Here.
Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Mayor Denner?
Here. We have the agenda in front of us. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Seeing nothing under appearances and acknowledgement, consent calendar.
Make a motion, we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Not seeing anything under unfinished business, we'll move right into new business. I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign right-of-way certificate, USDA Rural Development Water System Improvement Project.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Chad, did you want, is this one yours?
Yes, I can say a few
Okay.
things. Thank you, Your Honor. Included in the agenda packet, Your Honor, and the members of the commission, is said document. It's a right-of-way certificate. There's a Form RD 442-21 in the upper left-hand corner of that. That is a, as you can see from the other heading information, this is a USDA Rural Development Form that we have used and we're required to use to satisfy some of the requirements of the letter of conditions that we had received. We had received the revised one a couple, maybe a month back or so, and this is related to the project that we've been working on. The only place where some right-of-ways were needed to be secured was out near the Lakeview Industrial Park area. There was some easements that we had to secure. Also related, was just a couple weeks ago, was the covenant agreement that you may recall with LAIC, that we amended it to extend it 3 years. That was also related to that. And otherwise, this document just says that we have all the right-of-ways where we're going to place infrastructure as part of that project. And indeed we do. Been coordinating with Banner and Associates to prepare this right-of-way map and exhibits that are attached to the right-of-way map. Those include previous plats that have granted easements, previous copies of old easements. A few years ago we had one from Rosebud in that vicinity when we were looking to put the tower out in that area, and so on. There are a few exceptions as noted in here. Utility permits still need to be acquired from the South Dakota Department of Transportation and from Lake County. Those have been submitted to both parties and had some preliminary dialogue. Preliminary indications are that those will be favorably granted with little issue, little to no issue. But since we don't have them in hand, we wanted to simply note those as an exception at this point in time. With that, I'd be happy to stand by for questions, and if anybody has anything to add who's been aware of these activities, feel free if I missed anything. Otherwise, I'd stand by.
This just sorry, you said a lot there.
I did.
Does this involve any easements, or is this all just acknowledging?
Those are lumped in together.
How many easements did we have to get? We don't typically have to get a lot.
We had to actually obtain one easement at it's for the water tower loop line. It would be at near the northern portion of the the property True Shrimp is looking at. That's where that loop will go. So we did acquire that from Lake Area Improvement Corporation already, and then the So otherwise, we had them all in place. They've already been in place. These utility permits, are the last ones that we need. Technically, they're not right-of-way or an easement. It's just a permit to have authorization to occupy that space, I guess you could say, within the public right-of-way.
So we control the right-of-way for nearly everything the project involved with. Did we have to get any from any other entities?
No, and before we changed and moved the tower in the Lakeview Industrial Park, we didn't need any. That's really what triggered having to acquire a couple of those. And so no, it was just the one from Lake Area Improvement Corporation. Of course, we did acquire the parcel itself for the tower, and then also the substation parcel as well. We currently have title to that as well. So there's no infrastructure being installed on the substation line. There may use that to, and likely use that, I should say, to access from the site where the tower is being constructed.
So there's a number of things on the agenda for the rural development project, and this is kind of all coming at us tonight because we essentially have a checklist of things we need to do before we can advertise the bid. For those of you that haven't been sitting in all the meetings, that's why you're getting a fire hose full tonight, if you will. Now I'm rambling a bit. I'll just be quiet.
Any further comments? Discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Do I have a motion to approve mayor to sign acknowledgement letter, Doherty and Company LLC, placement agent, water revenue bond?
So moved.
Jen, did you want to talk on this one?
I will. What you have before you is basically a letter of intent. Note the second paragraph there. The City of Madison wishes to engage Doherty and Company LLC as the placement agent for the Water Revenue Bond, Series 2020, as we currently anticipate issuing this revenue bond. The paying agent will provide advice to the city on structure, timing, terms, and other similar matters concerning these certificates. Do note the third paragraph says this engagement letter is preliminary in nature. A more formal agreement will be forthcoming, but this is the paperwork we need in place to facilitate that. As received from Mr. Toby Morse.
Any further comments, discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Number 3, do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-03, approve a legal service agreement?
I'll make a motion, we approve that.
Second.
Jen, did you want?
Yes, here we go. The next 4 resolutions are as received from Mr. Meyer Henry's office. Resolution number 2020-03 is a resolution to approve a legal services agreement. It simply states that Meyer Henry Sargent, LLP, will be retained as bond counsel for the proposed water system improvement project revenue bond, and that the mayor and finance officer are authorized to negotiate and execute the form of the legal services agreement. The form of legal services agreement is also part of your packet. It spells out in Section A, legal services, Section B, compensation.
Further comments, discussion?
Do you have anything on this?
I don't. I'm comfortable.
Not hearing any more. Jen, will you take roll call vote?
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Corbin?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thill?
Aye.
Mayor Danner.
Aye. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-04, authorize the issuance, sale, and deliverance of not to exceed $7,749,000 revenue bond?
So moved.
Second.
Jen?
Resolution number 2020-04, authorize the issuance, sale, and delivery of the $7,749,000 revenue bond, covenants and agreement to provide for the payment and security thereof, provide for a special charge or surcharge for the purpose of paying principal of interest on said bond, principal and interest, excuse me, of said bond. Section 1 is the bond purpose. It notes Exhibit A. Exhibit A is the last piece of this resolution, which states our intent is to remove the 1930 water tower and replace it with a new $750,000 gallon elevated storage tank, and install 22,832 feet of new 6-inch and 8-inch water mains. Section 2, there, terms of the bond. We talked about this earlier. An interest rate not to exceed 3.125% for a period not to exceed 40 years. Section 3 talks about the execution, authentication, and delivery of the bond. The bond shall be prepared under the direction of the finance officer and executed on behalf of the city by signatures of the mayor and finance officer. Section 4, creation of account, appropriation, pledge, and segregation of revenues. There's a lot of direction to your finance officer in this section here. It talks about accounts, debt service account, a revenue segregation and pledge, or project revenues, and construction account. Current debt service account, a reserve account, a short-lived asset account, a replacement and depreciation account, and a surplus account. All as in bullet 4.09, accounting municipal accounting requirements of the South Dakota Department Legislative Audits. So I will be working closely with the DLA to establish and get all of these things set up. Section 410 talks about the deposit and investment of the funds. 411, any optional redemption. 12 defeasance, 13 prepayments. Section 5, covenants, remedies, and rates. Specifically 5.03 talks about billing. Services must be billed at least monthly, which of course we already do. The city shall take any appropriate legal action for unpaid charges. Then in 5.05, it talks about rates and charges. The surcharge shall be segregated from other revenues of the utility and must be used for repayment of principal and interest of the bond. Lastly, section 5.07 states that payments need to be electronically debited from the city's account. Again, a lot of information in here, but this is very standard as far as any other bonds that we have in place. This is very standard.
You are being bombarded with technicalities and securities law. And all of these things apply in both federal and state securities offerings. That's the detail. These are hitting all of those high points. If you're wondering what the exhaustive detail is, if you're wondering why Jen's going through it in exhaustive detail, not blaming him, just saying these are very defined securities law points to be able to issue these.
Thank you.
They all seem pretty straightforward.
Our bond counsel has to check off a checklist that each and every one of these things was agreed to by the city.
Yep.
And we're agreeing to these by your votes tonight to approve these resolutions.
You mentioned the interest rate. That's what it was when we were accepted, when our loan,
When we locked in, yep, which
But-
is no greater than
Right.
3.125.
but it can go down, right?
Right, it can't go higher, but it can go lower.
And it'll be, we can pick whatever's lower when we close the loan, I believe, at the end of the project.
Correct, that's my understanding.
Which the way
And the
it's
same is
looking,
true.
the way it's looking, they might be paying us to take this money.
I would go that far, that'd be really nice, but I would go that far. And then also note too, the period not to exceed 40 years. We can go lesser if we so choose.
Can we just pay off as we see, or are the windows like
I
a bond?
believe we agreed to that, Drew, right? We could pay additional principal. We could set it up for a longer term, but pay additional principal if we had the funds to do so. Right.
But if they're paying us to take the money, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, then we can delay it.
Not likely to happen, sorry. Anyway, sorry, Mayor.
Nope, fine.
Surcharge, the language on that one I was reading earlier, I just looked at it, everybody's comfortable with that. I think that's fairly common.
Absolutely. We have to segregate that surcharge. And then, as we talked about before, manipulate our revenue and our current cash as to how we make payments.
And that also gives us the secondary purpose of removing that or not having that debt counts against our constitutional debt limit, since it has a pledged revenue source.
The surcharge.
Yes, the surcharge
The
creates a
water piece,
pledged, yes.
Yep. Keeping in mind, this is just the water piece right now.
Yes.
What we're addressing tonight is the
Right.
water piece.
I like the 750,000 more. So it's the gallons. That wasn't what it said.
Yeah.
A couple of them.
Any more discussion? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Corbin,
Aye?
Commissioner Wellner,
Aye.
Commissioner Thill,
Aye.
and Mayor Denny.
Aye. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution number 2020-05, authorize a bond anticipation note?
So moved.
Second.
Jen?
Okay, the first one here is the bond, and authorize the bond anticipation note. Whereas we are offering for sale Water System Improvement Project Revenue Bond, Series 2020, in the amount of $7,749,000. The city may by resolution issue and sell notes in anticipation of the issuance of the bonds. Section 1 talks about definitions. It goes on to interim financing, tax exempt. Section 5, delegation, again, very standard.
Any further comments, discussion?
Does our legal advice for this come from Gordy?
Legal is Meyer Henry. Bond
Excuse me, I'm
counsel,
sorry, I apologize.
legal is Meyer Henry.
Okay. Does our
Doherty
bond
is
counsel
the-
comes from Doherty?
Excuse me?
Our bond counsel comes from Doherty.
No, bond counsel comes from Meyer Henry.
All right, thank you.
The placement, the financial assistance.
The
and
broker in
guidance.
essence is Doherty,
Okay.
yes.
That's what I meant to look for, thank you.
Any other questions? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take a roll call vote on this?
Commissioner Thill,
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Corbin,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
and Mayor Denner.
Aye. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-06, authorized grant anticipation note?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Last but not least, resolution 2020-06 is to authorize a grant anticipation note, remembering our funds are twofold. One is a bond, one is a grant, separate resolutions. Whereas the City of Madison has been awarded a grant from the United States of America acting through rural development in the amount of $2,091,000. And whereas the City Commission may by resolution again issue and sell notes in anticipation of the grant bonds. Your sections, again, are very similar. Definitions, interim financing, delegation.
further questions?
No, go ahead.
Good? Okay. Jen, you want to take roll call on this?
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thel?
Aye.
Commissioner Corbin?
Aye.
Mayor Dennehy?
Aye.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Number 7, do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-07, amend established employee compensation for 2020? Not hearing a motion?
This year's Bob. I'll make a motion so we can discuss it.
Second, yeah, for that reason. Second.
Okay. Jen, did you want Lexi to talk about this one?
Yes, Lexi is
Lexi,
going to
would you
talk
please
us through it, please.
come on up?
Okay, hi gentlemen.
Hello.
What we've got in front of you here is just an amendment to the salary resolution that we passed for 2020. You'll see 2 different changes in there. I'll just highlight those quickly. In section B, in the full-time exempt positions, what's changing there was an aquatics coordinator position. That was Lori Bunker's position, and now she's been promoted, I guess, to the assistant director up at the community center. You'll see that aquatics position did actually move into section C, making it a non-exempt or hourly position, and was changed to a grade 9. The other change that you will see is on section B, there was the recreation coordinator position that was under the streets, parks, recycling and solid waste position. That has been moved and reassigned duties to then go under the community center for recreation and aquatics coordinator. There's a lot of discussion on this, and we feel that this would probably be the best solution for the city going forward. I guess I'm open to any questions if you guys have any, and if this passes, we will be opening up some job announcements here tomorrow.
Where are we at with the code enforcement officer, building official?
We are working on job descriptions for that as of now. Chad and I have been working together on that.
Was the hire time always anticipated to be in the summer on that?
Yes, we
Talking
just,
May, June.
we needed more time to
Yep.
prepare the office and have things ready, and we're just not ready yet.
Couple months?
Yeah, roughly we thought middle of July, July 1st or so. So a little behind with getting the job description. We got to get together and get that going, and then maybe start too. So
But I thought when you presented it, July was your start
Correct.
time?
yeah, that was the plan.
Cool.
If I may, the change in resolution here too has gone through the park board, it's been discussed at the park board level, it's been discussed at the community center board level, and it has also been discussed at the 4-person budget and personnel committee as of last week.
Sounds well vetted.
Any further questions, comments?
I don't think so. We looked at options for this several different ways, both to the community center board, for the Parks and Rec board. We looked at internally as a city. We looked at it. This we think is the best combining resources, and will probably be the best thing for the community itself. It's not we've gone without some difficulty, but in the end, I think this is what's going to serve our community best, both recreationally and for the aquatics position, I should say.
other questions? Not hearing any. Jen, you want to take a roll call vote on this, please?
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Corbin?
Aye.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Fell?
Aye.
And Mayor Dennery.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lexi.
Thank you for your work on that, Lexi. Do I have a motion to approve first reading ordinance number 1622, lawn maintenance violation?
So moved.
I'm sorry.
Second.
Excuse me. First.
Okay. Take this one's yours, Mike.
Yeah, so this fee was established, I think, in 2006 or 7. It hasn't been updated since then. Currently, it's in enforcement when people do not mow their private property, and the city has to come in for an ordinance, and the police department warns them, tickets them $25, and then they have 48 hours to mow it, and then we go in and mow it. The reason why we're proposing this is because we have multiple breakdowns. It's very hard on our mowers to mow 3-foot tall grass. Last year I think we mowed 6 yards and we had 3 breakdowns. And it's not cheap fixes. Tires are $200. They're covered usually with debris, lawnmower blades, belts, bearings, multiple things. Is the reason why we're proposing this. Plus I talked to some private lawn companies. First of all, we don't want to be in the private mowing company with our mowers. So we kind of want to make it sting for us to do it. But a private company, we're going to be charging more. So it was actually cheaper to have the city do it at $200 an hour than hire a private company to do it. So that's why we propose a raise in this ordinance.
There needs to be a deterrent to have folks get out there and mow rather than realize they're actually getting kind of a deal from the city. That just doesn't dissuade people or doesn't persuade people to mow. Might be the shortest way to put it. So this was run by me. I would be in favor of it on a variety of levels as well.
I have to agree as well from the police department perspective. I mean, we got other work we need to be doing. We don't need to be out knocking on doors, tagging it, and saying, "Hey, mow your lawn." Hello, you know it needs to be mowed, and yeah, maybe a $400 an hour bill will get them to, call. There's kids out that'll mow it. There's companies that'll mow it. There's resources in town that'll do it, and I can't agree more. We've talked about this before.
I know that the calls last spring over 1 week were over 30 that the police department had to deal with in 1 week. And I think we ended up around 4 from that week.
Last year was very tough. It was wet, but Mike's right. There were a heck of a lot of calls last year.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, the PD's able to get a lot of those resolved. But we're pulling city crew off public works and public jobs to do a private task. Now, granted, it benefits the public, but there needs to be some deterrence. So I think this is appropriate in light of all of the circumstances that have been mentioned.
Yeah, when I looked at the figure at first, $400, I gave Mike a hard time about that. That just seemed incredible to me when I think about it, the number of times that we've had to, in the past, we looked it up, what our history is with this, and the number of people who had to give warning and warning and warning, and really worked hard to try to get people just to take care of it, either hire somebody else or mow it themselves. I guess we just have to take it to the next level. And hopefully this will be a deterrent. We're not trying. This isn't meant to punish people. It's just meant to incentivize people to get it taken care of. Mike was telling me a couple of circumstances when we talked about it. It isn't just going in there and mowing. It's dragging the branches out, all the debris that's in there, and making sure there's nothing that we're gonna hit with tomorrow, we've got a couple things damaged because of that. So, this takes a lot of time. We spend a great deal of time this summer, because all you know up here, caring for property as it is with Jana Parks and flood the properties that we own and those kind of things. So we're not looking for work. So this is hopefully the deterrent we need to get people to taking care of their own property. And the other thing about it is, back to that, when grass grows this long, not just weeds start to get taller too. Neighbors are affected by that. So I'm in favor of this.
How much did you go up?
$200. We doubled it, but it hasn't been changed since '07.
How often do you anticipate we'll update it going forward?
We'll see how much wear and tear. I'd like to just cover the cost of where the repairs at least on the machines.
It's something we should look at every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
Agreed.
we're clearly definitely ready to.
Well, thanks for taking care of this.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Any further comments, discussion? Not, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. I have a motion to declare a surplus property, appoint appraisers, and authorize for proper disposal of miscellaneous office equipment.
So approved.
Second.
Brad, this one's yours.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There are some electronic devices that are not functional, outdated, in most cases woefully outdated. Look like they came from the late 80s or something like that. So they've been sitting around in the offices gathering dust, and everybody's been having trip over them. So the idea was to have these surplused and disposed of. There's no any kind of significant value, and quite honestly, it costs money to get rid of them. But we just need to get them off the equipment list and do it through the proper process.
So they will be appraised, or recommended to be appraised at 0.
Yes. And we'll have another one coming up here in the not too distant future here with some materials, both at the street department and electric. We'll have some materials stuff that's a separate scrap type thing. So
How do you get rid of surplus computers at the state, Commissioner?
We have a whole warehouse full of them. Usually just give them to the schools.
If somebody doesn't get the advantage of this great opportunity here, will we be able to just get rid of those to the electronics drop off? Can the city contribute these to the electronics drop off?
no, we'll have to take care of these differently.
Household.
Yeah.
That's household only. So
No, there is. I mean, Brad's well aware of like the surplus, state of South Dakota surplus property entity, and but yeah,
And I should have known that.
it is a chore. I mean, we have a whole team of people, Commissioner Corbin, that this is all they do is refurbish and try to repurpose, reuse them. And in the good old days when schools didn't have computers, we did fix them up. We gave them to schools so that kids could learn how to operate them, how to fix them, how to repair them. And that was really a fun project.
we had looked at disposing of these at the Sioux Falls auction.
Sure.
And at that time, the way our contract with Sioux Falls read is if they did not sell, then we would have to pay them X number of dollars an hour for them to dispose of them.
Yeah.
And so we decided that probably wouldn't be in our best interest because I don't believe these would have sold, or, I mean, if they did, I don't think you'd get much out of them because they're not new enough to bring any money.
I'd like to have been at the auction when they learned that lesson.
Sioux Falls, you mean?
Yes.
When they got left with somebody else's big pile. The state does bundle them up in big pallets and sell them by the pallet, and they get $5, $10 a pallet, so there's just no value in these from what I've seen at the auctions.
So being these are mostly computers, for security sensitive materials, do we wipe them clean first?
2 of them have been wiped. The other ones, we're going to remove the hard drives and destroy them.
Okay.
It was cheaper to pull them out and destroy them than it was to pay somebody to wipe them and get them to military grade cleanliness. So
Data scrubbed and everything, so.
We have a storage room full of retired technology at South Dakota Rural Water. I was hoping to learn something, but it doesn't sound like the state does much better than I do,
So
so.
hard drives destroy them physically.
Mhm. Hammer,
Anyway,
MC Hammer.
do you want the appraisers identified in the motion, Finance Officer?
Yes, please, sir.
Bob, you wanna say the appraisers in your motion? You
Oh,
made the
yeah.
motion, right?
Yeah,
Yes, he did.
Jeremiah Corbin, Brad Lawrence, and Chad Coles.
Accept that.
I like the way you say my name, Bob, thank you.
Okay, any further comments, discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried. Public comment?
Nothing, sir.
Okay, announcements. Is that yours?
That's mine, property tax, property tax valuations went out, I believe, last week sometime, Board of Equalization. It's always the same Monday of every month, so this year it will be March 16th, that we have seen numerous people. Yeah, I think we have 2 filed so far. So we will have to meet as the Board of Equalization and address properties. March 16th.
Okay. Any further announcements?
When is our next electronic stuff? Do we mention, as long as we brought that up, I just get people thinking about that.
2 dates, there's still,
Okay.
we're still ironing them out. It's towards the end of April though.
Company that helps us with that in Sioux Falls has to be there, so kind of at the mercy of their schedule. So, but it is coming up.
That'll be
Okay.
definitely by the end of April.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to move into exec session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.